All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. We're starting that conversation on the state of the nation, but the youth version. We're talking about politics and everything in between. They're finding out what the young people think, how the future is going to shape up, considering they're the ones who are making more than 70% of the population. But the question is, do they exist as a voting bloc? Or do they vote on ethnic lines? Or are they enticed to vote for personalities? What really is the focus of the young people? Let me introduce my guest one more time. Arnold Maliba, Executive Director, Open Future Hub, is here with us. Thank you for making time, Arnold. Shiko Kihika, founder, Tribalist Youth, will be joining us online from Nakuru in just a bit. She's actually already there. Shiko Kihika, founder, Tribalist Youth. Thank you so much for making time. Ahmed Kadar, blogger and managing editor of Wafugaji News, is here with us in studio. And Davidson Gibwini, DNG, is also here with us in studio. Let's take a look at the quick headlines. First of all, United against Ruto, that is what the Daily Nation says. Mount Kenya pick, One Kenya Alliance, Raila to wait longer. Now, I'll start with you, DNG. What do you make of the political situation now? Is there anything for the young people as we speak?
I think there's a lot of opportunity for young people. Every election is an opportunity for young people to present themselves as viable candidates to be elected by the electorate. Young people have begun to mobilize and organize. And I think, politics is all about strategy. Politics is all about guts, confidence, and courage. Vying, Trevor, for an elective post is not a small feat. It's an extremely difficult task. It takes maybe predominantly 90% of your time.
Yeah.
It's involving, it needs resources, it needs information, it needs data, it needs a team. It's an uphill task, but that said, it's possible for young people to mobilize and organize.
Yeah.
A lot of young people in this country are yearning for change, and that has been the resounding, notion. Young people need a break. Young people need a chance, an opportunity to thrive, to develop their skill sets, their gifts, their talents, to go to school, to get an education. Young people need an opportunity to get a job.
Yeah.
Meaningful employment for that matter, or perhaps an opportunity to set up a business and scale that business, grow that business and thrive. So young people are looking at this particular election as an opportunity to overturn the bad governance that we've experienced over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
It's been extremely sad. Some of the policies that this government has put in place have affected young people directly. I'll talk about the COVID-19 lockdown and the way it was mishandled, especially because of the socioeconomic impact it had on young people in this country. I come from an industry that is predominantly youth, entertainment. And entertainment is a billion-shilling industry, employing so many young people directly and indirectly. But because of how it has been handled, it has shattered the lives of so many young people who perhaps are doing well, who are able to take care of their families, their dependents, take care of their own selves. But today, on WhatsApps, asking for 100 shillings, lunch, dinner, 200 shillings. It's extremely sad. And we must overhaul how this country is run and put young people, as you've said, being the majority, on the forefront.
Okay. And Ahmed, are we on the front seat, even just judging by the headlines you're seeing today? Are the young people on the front seat? Are they the decision makers like we make it seem?
Okay, well, young people are supposed to be on the front seat. But the question is, are they, as you're asking?
Yeah.
Which I don't think they are. And there are many factors that really contribute to that. One of them is, first of all, there is the issue of being an active voter, being an active citizen, trying to understand the political environment and what to make out of it. The young people mostly, they are so much disorganized in the sense that they have been taken advantage of by the political class.
Yeah.
Starting all the way from voter registrations, we are too much busy. I'd rather bust today my base than trying to speak good of them, as my friend has done. Because at the end of the day, sometimes some of the failures we have seen, it's us to be blamed. Because, and if you look at, for instance, today's headline, it is United against Ruto. Now, the question is, the ones who are united against Ruto, what do they have for the young people? What is their agenda? Is their agenda being against one man or serving the rest of Kenyans? And that's why the youth need to wake up and see these things for what they are, come out in large numbers, register as voters, and try to take part in the political process rather than just becoming to rallies and being used or abused rather in political rallies. Secondly, the young people are very active online, talking about issues here and there, but it should not end. I saw someone saying on Twitter, IEBC that does not count Twitter followers and tweets. Yeah, it counts votes. So you need to come out, vote according to the issues that are presented to you. So basically the young people are not on the front seat, but they're supposed to be on the front seat. And I think 2022 is going to be an election based on issues unlike before. This election, to be honest, is going to be an issue-based election. And it has been, somehow, if you see the way things are happening politically, I think the Hustler movement or the Hustler nation has defined the contest for the rest of other political players in the sense that they seem to be talking about what the rest of the people want to hear. So how others engage in that debate is what matters. Secondly, on the other side, as you can see there, from today's headline, there are basically two political groups. It's either you are united against Ruto or you are the Ruto and his side. And that contest is going to be purely a contest based on issues, the way it is going. Now, when you look at the other side, what issues are they presenting? All the stories, same like, you know, we're doing this for the youth, we are doing this for the youth, for that, help loan, you know, same old story. While the other guys are talking about, you know, real issues. So I think the contest has been defined. And yesterday I was hearing a lot of conversation happening on the blog sphere, and I think the youth are ready for that conversation, but they need to up their game.
Maliba, do you think this 2022 contest is going to be based on issues? Is there anything new you've had that is exciting, that you think this is refreshed, this is new, this is something that can change the nation?
I think, first of all, it depends with what you define or you call as issue. Because even tribalism is an issue. Being petty is also an issue. But then I get the context when we talk about, is it going to be an issue-based? We're talking about substantive issues here. Like Ahmed Kadar has actually said, is that we already have got two formations. There is the UDA and then there is the UAR. As in, UDA is the United Democratic Alliance, and then the United Against Ruto. So all of them, of course, start with the U. They are united at least for something, or at least against something. But then you talk about issues. The issues that really matter for us as the people of Kenya, because of course young people are part and parcel of the population of Kenya. The obvious stuff, and I've said those things repeatedly, that the youth of this country, number one, need access to education. I'm talking about quality education, skills development and training. They need access to market of the goods they have and the services or the talents they have. They need access to credit. They need technological transfer. We still see people from the West, not the West, the East, looking at the expressway, doing these things. So basic stuff, access to education, access to credit, technological transfer, education, access to information. By the way, even as he talks about the blogosphere and people being around there, the funny thing is that I think we have got about 2 million Kenyans on Twitter and about 8 to 10 million on Facebook. But whereas we have got that particular space that could be used for access to information, a lot of young people still, if you went out to poll, when it comes to the provision of public goods and how government takes care of them, they really don't know these things. So young people are not essentially asking for the moon. Young people are asking for enablers to their livelihoods. But those things are rarely, they rarely come to the top. This time when we are talking about the small things that people make livelihoods, even as a regional power, Kenya is where it is today, not because of any deliberate government action, but because of the individual people who wake up in the morning, because of us as a people who wake up in the morning, work hard, without necessarily caring about what government will do for us. That's where we are today. If anything government has done is that it's made us very uncompetitive in the region. Everybody's running away and now putting out. Long time ago, we used to be the main transit for the region. Now people are moving elsewhere. We've made doing business very difficult. That's not the service of a people. So these are the issues that we need to speak to. So there will be issues. But then let's talk about how young people have voted, because numbers don't lie. In 2013, only 43% of people aged between 18 and 35 were in the register, or rather, the register we had in 2013 only had 43%. I'm talking about the IEBC post-election evaluation report. In 2017, there was a little bit of an increment, and for the first time, there were 50% of the voters were people aged between 18 and 35, as it's defined in Article 260 of the Constitution. So it's one thing to say that we have numbers, and it's another thing for those numbers to count. So even as you look at that particular register, that we have got young people, when it comes to the population, young people, when I'm talking about specifically the youth as defined by the Constitution, they constitute about 67% of the adult population. And I'll surprise you, Trevor. The people from Orengo's age to the oldest, I'm talking about 70 years and above, in this country are less than 1 million. They're about 700, 800. Look at Kenya's population pyramid. The people 60 and above, again, are not even more. They are not even 4 million. They are not. The people who are controlling politics in this country are now in their 50s and 60s. So the excuse that we young people have been misused is a total lie, because young people have misused themselves and they have misused the country a lot of times. It's also time we spoke hard truth. This victim mentality, the other day during the democracy, the democracy week, we had a panel. I think Shiko was part and parcel of them. And I actually went to a level where I actually reminded young people that I've been in this space for the last 10 years. For most of my adult life, I have worked for and with young people. And I will say this, that it's not enough, like when we are seated here, to turn into a congregation of mourners, how things are not working for us, how people are misusing young people. We also need to realize that young people have got rights and obligations.
Yeah.
So it's not just about what other people are doing. It's also about how we are also doing out. When you talk about those people we are calling people who are misusing young people, their enablers are also young people. So if young people want to win election and get to power, like DNG said, then they have to actually realize that you will have to join a political party. You will have to work in a political party. You will actually have to make your weight count. And those young people in political parties are also youth. We cannot be acting like the rest of us who are not there are the only youth, and those who are there, like Trevor, you are a youth, right? Mm-hmm. So just when people are bashing the media, it doesn't mean that the media does not favor young people, does not give them a chance. You've given us a platform here. So we will come here, turn this platform into a congregation of mourners, and this one becomes a lamentation show. Then after that, we're not telling each other the truth. We've spoken about good governance for a very long time. It's time we actually told people that bad manners makes for good politics. You could have all those good ideas like DNG has, but if he doesn't make it to the county assembly, it's zero. It counts for nothing. So it's good to have the software that we need for a good leader, but you must also have the tact, the understanding to go out there and win an election. Okay.
Let me bring in Shiko in this. Shiko, what do you make of the political situation right now? Are the young people really in control, or they're being controlled?
We're being controlled, Trevor. And unfortunately, it's been something that has been going on again and again. And it saddens me that Maliba, you just turned a year older than the youthhood. And it's like you've forgotten how chaotic this space is. And I will keep reminding you, don't act like because I've left, it won't affect me. It will follow you wherever you're going. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because we know politics is not organized around young people. It's organized like about the elderly, who now want to use young people as props because they are the majority of the voters. We can never overlook that. And once we start agreeing with the fact that we know young people are used as bots to vote and tick boxes, then we can go back to the drawing. We are telling young people to join political parties. Maliba, you there, you know how hard it is, you know how hard and strenuous it gets, and you know without money, it's very hard to even get into some places. So how then do you sit right now and tell a young person, stop lamenting, stop complaining, life is okay, don't wait for the government? I pay taxes to that government, so who else am I waiting to make life better for me?
All right, let me bring in DNG on this. DNG, you're running for office, right?
Yes, I am.
Which party are you running with?
UDA.
And which office are you running for?
MCA Woodley Kenyatta Golf Course Ward within Kibra.
Why did you pick that? How has it been, your journey?
Why did I pick UDA as party?
That's one. And why did you pick the MCA role also?
Good question. So first and foremost, UDA has a philosophy that I ascribe to. The bottom-up economics pretty much has to do with alleviation of poverty and creation of jobs and empowerment of young people. I've been running an initiative called Hustle Yako since 2014. I know you know about that initiative. I've been working with young people across the country giving them platforms on my radio show, currently on my TV show, giving them tools of trade like things like hair dryers.
Yeah.
I've been doing it. So by the time I decided to vie, I came across, of course, various options. I've been to many political parties. I have worked with various political candidates. As you know, I've worked with 2 presidents. I've worked with the Right Honorable Prime Minister. I've been there in this space of campaigns and politics. But when I decided to vie, I needed a political vehicle that I could ascribe to and that made sense. Yeah. I went to one political party, and they told me to join, I need to pay 20,000. I went to UDA, they told me to join as a member, or as an aspirant, I need to pay 2,000. You see, it's a big difference. It's a tenth of the going rate. So when we're saying join political parties, I would urge all viewers to join UDA, simply because it is a vehicle that is pro-youth. Yeah. Talking about young people and the difficulty of vying, yes, it's difficult, but nothing good comes easy in this life, Trevor. Even the hustle, even getting a job, even to get an internship in Kenya is a tall order. You have to know somebody, you have to send 50 emails, get 0 responses, do it again. So it's an uphill task, and we're ready for that task. We don't want handouts, we want opportunities. And I came to realize, after doing presidential campaigns in 2007, 2013, doing civic education in 2017, I realized that, as Maliba has said, if you want to get involved in politics, if you want to bring about change in this country, you must dive in. Yeah. So how does that begin? You start by joining a political party of your choice. Then it's a murky space because there are so many people. It's the most competitive space I've ever been in. Yeah. And I'm in corporate business, I'm in media, I'm in entertainment. Nothing comes close to politics. But young people lazima tujitume. Hiyo inamaanisha nini? Tuamke asubuhi, to join party ile tunataka, and then we start working our way up. We start participating in party activities, whether we're earning money or not earning money, whether we have currency or resources or not, participate. Jitume, that is one step. Coming here in the morning is step 1. Yeah. Step 2, articulate yourself. Talk to people. We may not have money to bribe voters like the wazee do. You know that politics of nipe voters card yako, nikupe 100, ama nikupe 200, ama 500. Kuna watu wanapeana hata 200. Yeah. But we may not have that kind of financial muscle, but we have tact, as he has mentioned. Yeah. We have technology on our side, we have numbers on our side, we have God's favor, for heaven's sake. Because where the vulnerable are, that is where God is. God does not look at who has money. Yeah. God is all about the people who are struggling, the people who are crying out to him every single day. Okay. Majority are young people. Okay. The burden on youth, Trevor, is is so much that we're even taking care of our own families. Unapata kijana ndio anashughulikia mama yake, baba yake, medical, ya brother, sister, education. It's phenomenal. Okay,
Ahmed, let me bring in a tweet here, and it's a tweet from the Deputy President. Let's bring it up and see what he says there. He says, the Hustler Movement's agenda for the youth will focus on providing funds to expand enterprises and investing in technical training to enhance their skills. Ahmed, we've had this youth fund, there's Youth Enterprise Development Fund, there's Women Fund, all these funds have been there. What is so different this time?
Before I respond to that question, I want to pick something from what he said, but I'll come to that if you allow me to. Yeah. And you see, he has spoken about, or Malaba has spoken about, the few people who are maybe 70, 60 years old and above who are controlling the rest of the youth. But I just want to reiterate that the youth should not choose to be a voting machine, rather, where you just wake up, you're used to vote. You should participate in these campaigns. You should declare your interest as a candidate if anyone has to. For instance, where I come from, Kamkunji constituency, here in Nairobi, we have a very serious battle between the incumbent, who is a very old guy, and a new generation that's coming up for office, and it's going to be a very serious game for that matter. And the youth of Kamkunji, if I use them as an example, have decided that this time round it's not going to be business as usual, because they have seen what the old generation can do and why there is need for a new blood, why there is need, we need to breathe some fresh air in terms of, politically, and that's why the people of Kamkunji have decided that 2022, there's going to be a very young man, and probably a hustler for that matter, to be leading and changing the conversation in Cambodia. Now, coming to your point, I mean that tweet. You see, you have said maybe we had a youth fund and all that. You see, the Hustler Nation, the way they are running their campaign, the way they are setting the agenda, I don't think they are borrowing from the old ways of doing things. If you look at, this information are out there.
Yeah.
You compare and contrast what the Deputy President has said and what those who are united against him are telling the youth. In fact, if you look at the conversation out there, it is those who are united against the Deputy President, as has been put here in the headline today, who are running on the old, sort of tired narrative, whereby Azimiola youth, I don't know what, you talk about help, things that do not even need legislation here and there. The Deputy President and the Hustler Nation are very straight to the point, telling you, listen, we are going to do ABCD, and this is how we are going to do it. And I don't think they are following the old way of doing things. And that's why the youth are very excited about the Hustler movement, about the way, the DP is running his campaign and all that. You don't expect everyone to run one direction. Yeah. Why? You have to ask yourself, what is so good about everyone talking about the Hustler Nation? Yeah. If you go to in a cab, sometimes, we take Uber and all these things. Try to start a conversation. Everybody's telling you, I'm a hustler. What is so good about the hustler? You have to find out, because there's something good about it, or maybe there's something good that they're being told. Okay. My point is this. I just want to reiterate that the first point I made, the youth, if they want change, if they want to be on the driving seat, they need to register. There's a voter registration going on, and I repeat this, there's a voter registration going on. They need to come out in large number, they need to mobilize, they need to organize, and be peaceful always. Okay. Yeah, because we cannot afford to. Now, finally, there's something I want to add on the voter registration. And this is for the IEBC. Voter registration is happening across the country, but there's a whole region that is currently facing famine and drought called Northern Kenya, where the majority of the people are pastoralists, and they're moving around, maybe searching for livelihood, water and all that. I think IEBC must put in place contingencies whereby these people need to be captured, need to be registered without any issues, or, so that they can be able to participate. IEBC should not come and tell us, they could not find people here and there. The pastoralists are migrating, they're nomadic, they're looking for water and pastures. It's a drought time, and I think also the political class from the Northern Kenya should stop burying its head on the soil, come out and organize the people, and also provide, relief. Because at the end of the day, these are people, they need to vote for them. Okay.
Maliba, there's a difference between options that are given and actual action, because even when we talk about, then they have already decided that they are on the UDA side. There's no problem with that. Everybody gets to decide. But the question is, there's a difference.
Don't put us in boxes.
You're the one who just said right now. We're here.
Don't put us into boxes, and don't put Kenyans in boxes. We are free to discuss the political. Who wrote this headline? We did not write this headline.
But you agree.
I may agree or I may not disagree.
You just said you agree with it.
Yeah, because that's why it's there. We have to. But
you agree with it.
But don't put us in boxes that this is this guy. No, that's not the conversation we want. The youth of this country want to discuss issues.
Okay.
Yes.
And right now the issues are being addressed by who exactly?
You see, there are two camps, as I said.
Yes.
Yeah. There is the Ruto camp.
The UAR.
Then as you put it there.
UAR.
UAR meaning what? Meaning.
United Against Ruto, and United Democratic Alliance.
And United Democratic Alliance. So we are here, some of us are independent people, putting issues into perspective as youth. So please don't give us tags.
What is your perspective right now?
My perspective is...
Who best addresses
my perspective is the Hustler Nation is addressing the issues of the youth, and that's why majority of the youth are discussing this.
So who are you supporting?
But it's not about support. For my support, it's personal. That is what I will exercise at the ballot box. But when we are here, we are putting issues in perspective.
Anyway,
and by the way, you Ahmed Kadar, you really don't need even to get worked up on whom you support and what side you belong to, because Article 38 of the Constitution gives you that right to belong to any side.
Yes.
And you shouldn't even
feel my issue is not even us not having a side or not.
Yeah.
My issue is, you know, the issue of the media.
Them versus us.
Them versus us. It's not good.
You being a managing editor of a media house, you're sure that is not right. There's no such thing as the media putting things. It's the people who decide what they want.
Yeah,
we are just reflecting what they're speaking about. I'm giving you an opportunity here, and you're giving
I'm
your
not trying to bash
views.
the media. I'm just trying to correct a misinformation. We should not have this issue of us versus them anywhere in any discussion.
It is this blame game that I'm anyway.
I'm sorry, Trevor, you probably are not woke enough to understand the cancel culture that you must be politically correct in everything you say. So I don't envy you. I don't envy you.
The truth is not objective.
I know anything that looks like truth is a lie. But I'm actually saying that I'm sorry. I might not be able to sit in your position, because in a world today where everything has to be, you must choose your words correctly. I do consultancy. So yesterday I was discussing some work with a team, and somebody told me that to phrase an objective as to have healthy and productive young people is to instrumentalize young people. Yet all of us know how you phrase an objective. It's been the practice in management for all that time.
Yeah.
But to phrase an objective that way causes problems, apparently, that you are instrumentalizing young people. So they look like they can't just live for nothing. They have to live for something.
Yeah.
And that apparently is wrong, according to some people. So.
The question here was on the tweet from the Deputy President, that the Hustler Movement's agenda for the youth will focus on providing funds to expand enterprises and investing in technical training to enhance their skills. What I'm saying here is that all these leaders, when they speak of all these issues, are they completely new? The question is, who is going to implement them? Isn't that where the issue is, Maliba?
Truth is that the needs of young people are not necessarily new, and a lot of the things that people are saying are also not new. It's actually strategy and planning around those particular issues and how they package them that is different. A lot of times what we have is sloganeering. In 2013, Jubilee said they will make 1 million jobs every year for young people, at least for young people. In 2017, they promised 1.3 million per year. That has not been done, and no one is following up. So when the Deputy President speaks about the Hustler Movement, the agenda for youth focusing primarily on funds, that speaks to access to credit, because a lot of young people do not have collateral. They are not bankable, at least for serious money, because if you are going to go to youth fund, for example, they insist that you be in a group for the first loan, a group of at least 10 people before you get 50,000. If you are 10 people, if you are 10 people and you call your relatives, you don't need even to call them. You just send them, please call me. All of them, 5 of them. They will respond, and for everyone that will call, you can actually tell them to give you 3,000, and the 10 of you can actually get the 50,000. So we're talking about money that can work out. So access to credit, like I initially just said, that for young people, there are only 5 things that they need. Access to quality education, skills development, and training as number 1. Yeah. Because at the marketplace, there are only 2 things that you are taking there. You're either bringing in your services, whether it's a talent, whether it's a skill, or you're bringing in goods. That's what the marketplace requires of us. Even a witch doctor brings services. For young people are not into agriculture. Not a lot of them are into agriculture. So that is the first one. And when you are young, you still have got the brain, you still have got the capacity to go around that. The next thing is that young people need market for their goods. Young people need credit, and that's why he's talking about funds here. Doing business in this country is still very, very difficult. Of course, the systems have been made easy. You can register a company. We are members of the OGP, that is the Open Government Partnership. Yeah. We've tried to work around that, but still doing business is still difficult. Okay. And for so many young people, because we have moved away from being a country that manufactured, actually services have overtaken agriculture. It's no longer the backbone of our economy. So, and a lot of that is that we are serving out there. We go out there. These young people need money. So, and accessible credit that will not penalize you. But a lot of young people are actually into Fuliza and everything else, because the system in itself, at least the economy as designed, has made it so difficult for young people to get serious money. I mean, Kadar today, if he were bold enough, he will tell you his account does not have 1 million shillings.
Of course, it doesn't.
They say that just about 200 Kenyans earn over 200,000. That was a headline the other day, 100,000, actually, not 200,000. So there are very few. And the young people here, we are a country of young people. So here, this is a good agenda, and we want people to tell us that, not the kind of stuff that we hear people are saying, so that we can hold them to account.
Yeah.
That this is what you said.
Okay.
How will you pull through? Okay. Of course, there's a lot of sloganeering. Now, people want us to go back to the old way of voting. Yeah. I just don't have to vote for Ahmed Kadar because I am navy blue and he's slightly closer to the sun. That he comes somehow from a dry area and I come from, my parents come from the far west where it rains a lot, coming from almost a tropical forest. That those should be the differences upon which we vote and not more serious issues. Like for young people, I've said, those 5 issues that young people really care, education, access to information, access to credit, access to market, technological transfer, these are the things young people want to hear. Okay. And for those who are into business, that's what they want to hear. But the young people do not even care about how the Mau Mau fought for this country. It's important. I know it is our history. But knowing how Mau Mau fought for this country will not help my child go to school. Knowing how Mau Mau fought, or rather how somebody fought for the second liberation, will not put food on the table. Or in the evening, I cannot tell my child, take a plate, and now I tell him, there was a second liberation. This is how we fought for it. And then my child gets well, or they get food. It will not work. Okay. So we must actually move away from trying to sentimentalize the voters, to guilt trip voters, and tell them what we are going to do for them. Okay. After all, government is not a storytelling place. Government is not it's not just about history. Okay. It's so much about where we want to go. And I have said this on this show before, that I'm the oldest of the young people because I am a millennial. After ourselves, we have got the Generation Zers. And after the Generation Zers, we already have got the Alpha generation around here. They are all sub-cohorts, and they have got a very different way. Some of us can look back and relate. In between here, especially for Generation Zers, they do not care about these things. And they are coming of age. They are almost the same number with the millennials. But the millennials are no longer children. Like I've told you, people 70 years and above are less than 1 million in this country. Looking at 50 and above, these people are less than 4 million. So what is the bulk of this country? It is the children and the youth. Okay. But then we cannot then go around and keep on telling people this. It is important to know where you have come from, because if you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you are, and definitely you don't know where you are going. Okay. But for purposes of politics and government, we cannot be subjecting 5 years to be looking back. We do not drive using the rear mirror. Okay. So, can we get forward? We have got serious problem of unemployment. Nowadays, young people, long time ago, being a graduate was a very big thing. You could get a job immediately. Nowadays, our young people are graduating immediately and joining Al-Shabaab. And people still want to tell us about the second liberation. People still want to tell us about Mau Mau. What kind of nonsense is that? We really need to move forward. Talk about things that matter. I need money in my pocket. I need money to live. When I leave this studio, I need to get to where I'm going next. So, guilt tripping me, trying to, but I didn't apply to end up being, for example, born a lawyer, for example. So if I'm going to vote primarily because I am a lawyer, and I was born in Moroto, in Madare, for example. In Moroto, you could be a Kikuyu for heaven's sake, but your child will know how to eat omena before you as a parent probably have eaten it, because they mix up. They don't know any other way of living. But immediately you are going to vote. And that is the problem I've had with a lot of young people. That young people exist in numbers, but not on the ballot box. That we are young, we are here, we are complaining and talking about how things do not work. But when we get to the ballot, we want to vote like our mothers. We want to vote like our ancestors. We want to vote like our grandfathers. And yet when we come to social media, we are sounding so eloquent. We must move away. So the youth as a vote must exist. I am a practicing politician, but I will tell you this, that a good politician, at least because politics is about being practical, politicians will tell you that I would rather first go to women, because the women vote is more cogent and united. And then you will look at the others. Then you can subdivide youth into boda, into those other groups. If young people start existing as a real voting bloc, at least at the national level, it will change. Okay.
Shiko, is it that we don't have the right choices, or do we just keep making the wrong choices? Because some young people have been speaking to, and they tell us that we don't have choices in leadership.
I think before I even answer that, Trevor, I would want to go back to the Deputy President's tweet. I'm lucky enough he blocked me, can't see such. But my pain is that we are talking about the same person who had the same clause in the Jubilee Manifesto in 2013 and 2017. And we're going to sit here and convince young people that the Hustler Nation has their interest at heart because they picked the same clause. They're not going to tell you how they're going to implement it, and they're going to tell you this is what will work for young people. That is honestly uncalled for and uncouth. That notwithstanding, do we have a problem with the choices of our leadership? No and yes. We have a problem because what we are fed every day is the people who are driving the agenda every day. We want to sit here and talk about two options, the pro and those who are pro Ruto and those who are against Ruto. But are we talking about people like Robert Kagame, who's a man, just a common man who wants to come in and challenge the status quo? Are we talking about other young people beyond these big political parties that are trying to do something to at least come out here with a name? We are not. So I do not believe we have a bigger problem in terms of our leadership options is what we are fed every day and the narrative that is created every day that we are allowed to sort of consume certain people, out of sight, out of mind. There are some people who never cross your screens twice. It will be once and then they are gone. There's someone, when the headline begins, our news is very categorical. We start from who was where, and I see that even in our homesteads. Your parents want to see where was Ruto today, where was Raila. After that, change to another station, see what they're saying. That is what we've been cultured to look at it into. Now, we come to us as young people. It's funny how we roll this ball and act like young people are playing victims, young people are not united, young people are not this and this. And Maliba has said it categorically that young people, their interest is having a workable environment, an environment that is working for them in terms of their education system, in terms of their opportunities. We are moving, the whole world is moving in terms of technology and everything. We've been able to see things change since the pandemic started in terms of how people are working and everything. Who are the biggest drivers of this digital economy? These are young people. But where are they in the tables of conversation about our politics and where 2022 is leading us? We still allow people to sit here and tell us young people need to join UDA for 2,000 shillings because it is favorable for them. That is not favorable for them. It is a moment to sit down and ask ourselves, what is favorable in these political outfits that are being formed? And how can young people get in there and negotiate for what is theirs? How can they stop being part of the hawkers out there who will be screaming and singing? Because this is exactly what we are being fed. In 2013, they came with red and yellow and black and whatever colors. And they gave a lot of T-shirts, and if you would look some of the counties like Nakuru County, it was red and you couldn't say anything else. It is the same thing we are being fed. Theme people, color people, and convince them that you're also a hustler, yet you're using choppers to fly every day. So it does not make real sense and logical sense if you're going to sit here and have a conversation about where the youth are and then also blame them for not sit on this table.
But Shiko, you're the founder Tribeless Youth. Are you seeing some level of hypocrisy in the youth then? Or are we winning the war against tribe?
No, we're not winning, Trevor. And we're failing a good one because it's interesting how this spark of the last 5 years have been, because it was immediately after election, we stayed for 1 year, 2 years, and then the pandemic hit and everybody was confused. And our politicians disappeared for some reason. For close to a year, we never saw them. They were not talking. And I think they also got some kind of culture shock because things were not being done as usual, as normal as they used to. And then now they came back again. And what we are seeing now is who is our bigger thief? Like, can we all go back to our cocoons and protect our thief? And we saw that even with the story about the offshore accounts and everything, how this conversation took a turn to our person versus their person is quite weird and interesting, because the young people, and this is where I want to also disagree with Maliba, history is very important to where we are. Because the reason why we got our politics so messed up is because the history we learn is that Mau Mau were a section of a certain tribe. We are not told the entire truth about the people who actually sacrificed, went to the forest and fought for this country. We can never say that, oh, since we're going forward, we don't look back. No. You have to take a moment and look back and look at where you've come from. so that at least you understand the values of that country. At least you understand the values and the sacrifices that those people made for us to get to where we are. So we are seated at a point where, right now, if I say something that sounds like it's against Ruto, then blindly everybody will tell me I'm pro-Raila. If I say something that is against what Raila has said or what Uhuru said, everybody will say I'm now pro-Ruto. Why is it about individuals? Why is it about where they come from? Why is it about their tribal affiliations? Because we are still struggling with understanding why we vote. We are still struggling with understanding why we even need politics and why we even need governance structures.
Okay. One at a time, DNG has been quiet for a while.
Just a minute.
I will give you a chance to respond.
Before I use my thought on the issue of the tribeless youth. You see, there are two key things here. First of all, the issue of the youth is always the same. But what can change is how it's addressed. And that's why we had the issue of where we had the differences. I agree with Shiko that if you talk against, for example, William Ruto, in a not so good certain terms, you should not be seen to be against Ruto. And if you talk against, for example, the other side, it doesn't mean that you're not supporting them. In fact, you should be in a position where I can support Trevor Mbija always, but I can tell him also of what necessary, and I can tell him, you know what, Trey, this is not the way you're supposed to be. This is not working. Okay. No, that is the kind of conversation we need to have without necessarily fixing people. Now, the other thing is, the youth of this country have always been complaining. But you see, the issues that affect the youth are also the issues that affect every other person in this country, most probably, even though at a different levels. Yeah. But the issue is one. So that's why I'm saying we need to change the narrative. Okay. And the narrative is changing 2022 because if you remember, the kid who was born in the year 2000 is a voter in 2002, and he will not listen to the kind of political campaigns of the way things were done in the 90s or even before that. So that's why political parties need to change the narrative. That's why how you convey the message is very important. And that's why also the youth, I tweeted something juicy. I'm a blogger and I use the online platform a lot. I tweeted that the 2022 election will mostly be digital in so many ways because the game, that's where the game will happen. That's where everybody can exercise, what they think of issues here and there. And that's why the political parties, they need to come out of these rallies of meeting people in hotels, much as it's necessary. Look, the Mount Kenya Foundation, these are public information, has met the ODM leader. Are they interviewing people? If so, and it has been said so in the political platforms, what happens to your voter's card? Are you going to vote or is someone being interviewed on our behalf? That's the kind of conversation we need to have.
Okay, DNG.
I love it. I love this conversation. So first and foremost, I think the factor of tribe is an outdated conversation. Today, young people are not voting or will not be voting on tribal lines. Take that to the bank. The conversation now is about who is communicating to young people, who has favorable policies for young people, not who comes from Mount Kenya or from Nyanza or from Rift Valley. I come from a constituency, Kibra, that has guys from all over this country. We have Luos, we have Kikuyus, we have Kambas, we have Nubians, we have everybody. So, how is Kibra going to vote? Are all Nubians going to vote for a Nubian candidate? Are all Kikuyus going to vote for a Kikuyu candidate? Are all Luos going to vote for a Luo candidate? No. Walk and see. What the Hustler narrative, Hustle Nation has done, it has removed the tribal card. It has put issues on the table. What are the issues? Empowerment of the people who are at the bottom and the people who need that empowerment. Somebody who's driving a Benz doesn't need empowerment. What they need is maybe a good road and security. The issues are different.
He might actually need empowerment.
So let me finish. So taking it back to that tweet. As Maliba had said, the conversation is not a new conversation. Why? Because poverty has been perennial. Even the people who fought for Mau Mau died poor. You know that. Many of them have died poor. Apart from the ones who were given chums by the British. Those are the only ones who benefited. Everyone else has died a bad death. Now, let's not belabor that point. The issue is that, and what the Deputy President is saying, is that this government that we're going to put in place, God willing, in the year 2022, next year, August, is going to be a government that is going to prioritize empowerment of young people. That's what it's saying. Now, there's been other interventions in the past. Perhaps what is the game changer here is the goodwill and the practicability of that intervention. Because yes, you can have a fund like the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, but when you put a caveat where you need collateral to give young people loans, and the young people do not have collateral, they cannot access that credit, even if there's $1 billion, $5 billion, $30 billion even put in that fund. But when you like now what the deputy president has been doing, for example, he goes to one region, gives guys car wash machines, goes to another region, gives guys kinyozi machines, gives guys, whatever it may be, man, hair dryers. That is real empowerment. You don't have to fill forms, 16-page documents. You don't have to come there with a logbook. You don't have to come there with a title deed. Unapewa jembe yako ya kulima, unaenda unalima.
But is it sustainable in the long run?
It is sustainable because this money is the government's money. You understand? It's sustainable.
If it is structured
and
in a manner that when he forms, maybe as he said, when he said if he forms a government.
Yeah. So let me put it into practice. Like now, I launched the Youth Enterprise Fund strategic launch, strategic plan. Beg your pardon, for 2018-2022 last year. My initiative Hustle Yako sponsored that launch. So one of the proposals that we put in place is to have a Talanta fund for artists in particular, where the artist does not need collateral. Now that's a government institution, a parastatal, that is getting funding from the government. Now, how does that work? Economically, how it's going to work and how we proposed it to be is that the undertaking comes from the person giving the artist. Say you are the person giving me a job to do a Moi Day or Huduma Day or whatever day, and I need uniforms I need to get uniforms for my dancers, for example, worth 50K. My job is going to be worth 100K. So the client undertakes that they will pay the money through the youth fund that will loan me the money to buy the uniforms. The youth fund recoups its money back, and then the balance comes to the person. You understand?
Solid,
it's just reworking the credit system in this country. Credit systems were put in place by human beings, and they can be undone by human beings to favor the people who are really struggling in this country. And that is what the hustler government is doing. When you look at this newspaper, the other people on the other side are all about, I am from Ukambani, I have these numbers. I am from Mount Kenya, I have these numbers. My father was the tyrannical president in this country for 24 years, I have these numbers, and I have this money. They have nothing to offer Kenyans. Absolutely.
And that's why they are meeting in boardrooms, because they can't come to the rallies and meet the people. No, I think it's my turn to continue.
No, it's not your turn.
I wanted to respond to a number of things.
Yes.
Number one, Shiko ably says that it's important to also look at other people. And I have got a little problem with how Ahmed Kadari is doing it and how Shiko is doing that. We cannot talk about where people are and where they are. We should be proud for where we belong to, not just in the spirit of Article 38. But I need to say this. Shiko probably is speaking from an idealistic perspective, which is good. Ideas really make life. But then, a lot of times young people are victims of paralysis by analysis. Is that we are busy talking about how does this one look like. This is politics. It's not a love affair. I don't have to love you to support you. If you have anything that works for me, I go for it. By the way, even those who are supporting the deputy president, those who support the Hustler Nation, I tell you, they also are going to hold him to account. It's not like we have to have some, when you join a political party, it is now a shrine. And the political leader is now some demigod where you go and bow and say, Igwe, we hear you. And that he decides what is right. And that Kenya is where he steps. And that his word becomes law. No, we are a country of the rule of law. And we have to pick. Let's talk about real politics. You talk about an individual, for example, who no one talks about. Woody Allen speaks about showing up. And he says 80% of life is about showing up. So whoever wants to be supported, let them show up. We actually are seeing very seasoned people joining UAR to counter one man. So the other people that we're being told, just it's good, whoever she's supporting is fine, but we don't know those people. So can we support the people we are with and we think are actually working for us? Now, The other thing also, DNG spoke about that God does not look at those who have money and such. He probably has not read his Bible recently. But I would remind you this way, that for me, who is a practicing Christian, I'll tell you this. My pastor, my former pastor, Bishop Matthew Monde, said that you cannot ask God for money, because the only way God gives you money is that he either prints counterfeit money or he robs. He doesn't do that. He will give you people to give you money. He will make people to meet you along the way. And that then takes me to what I really wanted to say. Matthew chapter 5, verses 45 says that God reigns on both the just and the unjust, both the good and the bad. When it rains to everybody. Now, the same philosophy applies to when you are doing public policy that affects a majority of the nation. We are a country, if we talk about the people who are poor in this country, 89% of the people that are poor are the youth. So when you come up with policies that are pro-youth, you then by default are reaching out. Today, it is data that is out there that for every person who is employed, like yourself, you have got 8 people who depend on you. Either some slay queen somewhere.
I don't like the way you said.
I'm just giving an example.
The thing is,
I'm saying that 8 people. So, if we come up with policies, and by the way, I'm running for office myself. This will be my 3rd time running for office. The other day I was speaking to young people.
Where are you running for office?
I'm running for Member of Parliament where I was born. I've gone back home because every time I've gone back home, Mathare has always been good to me. So, moving on swiftly, I needed to say this. That it's time when you get round, and these things we really need to talk to each other and say the truth. People say, somebody spoke about difficulty in running because people will be asking you for money. Who asks money from people when you go to the ground? I have won some, I have lost some, I have represented young people at the National Youth Council who elected me in Nairobi, but those young people were good. And that's why I'm telling you that when young people decide, it counts. But a lot of time we also have to count out. By the way, in itself, being a young person is not a qualification of being a good leader. Yeah. We saw young people as the goons and thugs that looted NYS. We want to look away and not talk about that. The recent one about during the pandemic. There were young people that we respect very much. They were mentioned in there. They are quiet. We're not talking about that. So we should be looking for leadership that takes care of our interest. And in real politics, by the way, I see people talking about here that you should not be bunched and be told like you are a Ruto person. For example, I wouldn't care if anybody says that my policies look like Ruto. I don't care, because in real politics, you must also be able to stand up with the good and the bad of everything. Exactly. Yeah. Politics is a messed up situation. This thing called statecraft is difficult. You're not going to have black and white clearly. Okay. So for those who choose to fold their sleeves and join politics, they must know that whatever party you choose to, and that's why I respect the people in ODM. They are very loyal. For whatever cause they are on. So you also should be loyal to that particular unknown presidential candidate you are supporting. All right. When Paul went to Corinth, he spoke about some unknown God that those people were. So you also have got your unknown presidential candidate. He could be the president of the future. But young people should not shy away from associating themselves. As in, somebody is supporting another end, but then he wants to not to discriminate you, but to, there's this word that I'm missing out, but to, I don't know, I'll get it later on, but then to make you feel bad because you're supporting another side. If you're feeling bad because you're supporting another side, then you should not even be there. Okay. Be proud of where you are and what you are doing. Okay. And that is where we lack out, because if we actually were proud from where we belong, then we will hold those leaders to account. Okay. But we want to be there at night, not during the day. Okay. I have to take a quick break now. When we come back with what the Chief Justice said, and Shiko, I'll let you take a first go at that one, but let's take that quick break. I see a lot of your feedback coming through at Trevor Mbiji at Citizen TV Kenya, #Daybreak. We'll sample some of them in a short while.